This morning, we're sharing with you 5 things that you need to know. At number one, the Labour Party has threatened that it will call on its members to occupy offices of the Independent National Electoral Commission nationwide for allegedly frustrating its petition against the outcome of the 2023 presidential elections. The spokesman of the Presidential Campaign Council of the party, Dr. Yunusa Tanko, accused INEC of disobeying the order of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, directing the electoral umpire to grant the party and its presidential candidates, Peter Obi, access to the certified true copies of materials used for the conduct of the polls. Now, joining us this morning is Charles Ideho. He's a political analyst, and he joins us to discuss this and more. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Ideho.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's, in the course of the program this morning, we've talked about how it seems like INEC is disrespecting the court orders, which, of course, it's not the first time we were hearing of something like this in the last few years in Nigeria. But what do you think is going on, from your perspective?
Well, I think the electoral process in Nigeria is maturing, even though they are maturing slowly. I would wish that we did this very fast. INEC, that we all are applauding even days before the February 25 election. It appears to have gone to be going on the route of ignominy, if you will. But I think what we do have today is an electoral body that appears to be overtly maybe is supportive of some parties and some individuals in the system, which of course that is against the rules of if you're an empire is supposed to be above board. An empire is supposed to to shun all things that is improper in any process. So the INEC that we have today under Professor Mahmoud Yakub is an INEC that is it doesn't have anything that we can go to church and go to church for Thanksgiving. So I think these coming days, particularly this the rescheduled sub-national election, INEC and Mahmoud, they have a lot to do in order to to redeem the image of this country of INEC, and of course for us as Nigerians, for the generation yet unborn, and for everybody even in the international community. But the way it is now is not looking too good. It's very messy for us to have an umpire that is if similarly biased.
I'd like to also further ask your thoughts on INEC refusing to allow political parties access to review as they are configuring the BVAS. The political parties have asked for access. The court has given instructions, but INEC is blatantly refusing. Do you maybe understand the mindsets behind INEC's refusal?
Well, I think the word refusal shouldn't count at all, because if you look at the CTC, that the judgment I was the case that was filed by the party, I didn't see, maybe it's hidden somewhere, I didn't see anywhere INEC was given a time limit for them to obey to their instruction. Maybe what the Labour Party should do, rather than picketing these offices, they may need to go back to the court to compel INEC, and then also include in that their demand a time limit within which the electoral bodies must obey that law. So INEC may just be, may just be looking at that, and then there's an escape window for INEC that there's no time limit set for them within which they can obey that order. So the Labour Party, they owe us a duty. We are enjoying relative peace right now, so that for them not to, maybe bring something that is going to cause the nation to blow up in flames. So all they need to do is to go back to the court to ask the court to grant, to give that expertise or that, or whatever I don't know, because I'm not a lawyer. They have all this their legal jargon that they give you. But for them to insist on a particular time frame within which INEC can obey that order. Well, for now, I think refusal should not be a word for us to use.
All right. Before we move on to other things, I want to get your thoughts. If you believe that, because now you've said that INEC is taking advantage of the lack of specificity with the timing. Do they have things to hide? Is it difficult to simply just open up the portal for Labour Party or for the PDP if there is nothing in particular.
I mean, all they're asking is
hide.
for representatives to be there while this process is going on.
Okay, well, this is how it goes. I'm not accusing anybody of any infraction, but INEC has been, INEC has become a whipping boy in a manner of speaking. And then you are accusing the electoral body of infraction in the system, of also contravening their own laws, which, of course, the Electoral Act said they must transmit the result electronically, and they didn't do so. They didn't do same, but they resorted to manual collation and manual transmission of result and all that, which of course has brought this issue of impropriety in the system. So if INEC indeed is guilty of all these the charges against them, you think somebody that was guilty will want to open your doors for you to go see? I can liken it to a thief. A thief has stolen something, and you have substantial evidence to prove that the thief has stolen something from you, and then you now get police to say, okay, thief, come and open the door for us. And the thief knows that he has that stolen item in his room. The thief would definitely look for every means and ways to ensure that those doors are not open for you to see, so that it won't become guilty as charged. So that's the same way I think what INEC is doing. INEC knows that it's actually guilty by the judgment of a court of public opinion that is actually guilty. So it will be difficult for INEC to now come out to be opening their doors or whether they are portal for people to begin to pry into what they have done. So that's the way I see it.
All right. Now let's move over to other issues this morning. The River State Governor Nyesom Wike has noted that the decision of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, to contest the last presidential election prevented the North from retaining the presidency, and that he remains his hero of the presidential elections 2023. Of course, he made the remarks during an interactive meeting with Technical Dealers Association of Nigeria, Computer Dealers Association, Garrison Phone Dealers, and and the likes in Port Harcourt. He said the reason he did not publicly declare support for any presidential candidate was because the G5 governors had unanimously agreed to ensure the emergence of a president from the South to succeed President Buhari. Now, while the G5 governors assiduously worked for power to return to the South, Wike said his immediate past predecessor and former Minister of Transportation, Chibuike Amechi, mobilized votes for Atiku Abubakar. So I want you to get your views on that one also. G5 at some point was, the top conversation across the country. At some point, it seems to have fallen apart. They seem to now be individually picking who they will support. So let's get your views on the G5, perspective, and also Peter Obi being termed a hero by Nyesom Wike.
Well, Nyesom Wike has every right to appoint or to give heroic award to whoever he wants to give that to. Because for me, I used to like, this is personal to me, I used to like Nyesom Wike, particularly his populist agenda for the people of River State, or people of Niger Delta, then specifically people of River State. But he lost my support. He lost the value of my support for him when he started, all these intra-party, intra-party, I think they call it anti-party activities, where he was working against his own party. Now, if you look at it, where democracies have festered, where democracy had matured all over the world, in even these performing economies all over the world, what you do is that you remain loyal to your party, even if your own personal interest is not actually met. What you need to do, you look for it next time. You find a way to always work for the victory of your party. But what Wike did, actually, anti-party activities, even during his party structure or party executive to even sack him. But I think what he did for me is a national shame. What I would call that is he also treaded the path of ignominy by working against his own party to lose the election. No hero, no political hero ever does that anywhere in the world. Where you want to grow a system, you want to grow a process, then you are working against your own domain to ensure that thieves come over there to come and steal what you have for you to now begin to look at somebody as a hero. You are even, imagine the very first time that I began to doubt his credibility politically was when he came to Lagos. Rather than raising aloft the hand of the man who is flying the flag of PDP, that's Jandor, he now went to be raising the hand of APC, or the APC gubernatorial candidate, that is the incumbent Babaji Sanwo-Olu, I felt for me that was something very, very bad for Wike and his ilk to do. Then when he now formed this G5, who were going everywhere, they were stealing shows, they were stealing headlines. I knew that the fabric that built them together was very light, because the fabric was not strong enough, because you had individual interests among them. You had the governor of Oyo State, Sheikh Makinde, who was battling for relevance in order for him to secure a re-election in Oyo State. You had Otom that was also struggling to see how it could be accepted for him to go to the Senate. You had Ungwanyi himself, who wasn't very, very popular among his people in Enugu State. You had the Abia governor, who, of course, for his 8 years, all he could show was attracting investment. What he called his investment was attracting eatery to Abia State. So all these people he was gallivanting about with going up everywhere in the country. For me, I think it was unnecessary. But now you can see that even related to the election, that they lost out and then they became irrelevant. So I think Wike has no right to be somebody else a hero.
Okay, very quickly, as we've quite run out of time, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the information that we've received that Ogun State chapter of the Labour Party has endorsed the re-election bid of Governor Dapo Abiodun of the ruling All Progressives Congress in the forthcoming March 18 governorship elections. Of course, we know that Labour Party doesn't have a candidate in the state, and therefore they've thrown their weight. Do you think that this in any way influences or impacts his chances? What are your thoughts on this, as quickly as possible?
Well, it may not affect it, because Labour is not very strong in Ogun State. Everybody is just riding on the popularity of Peter Obi, who, of course, he brought in that goodwill to Labour State, and today that he himself, the supporters you have in Labour State today, in Labour Party, they are organic followers of Peter Obi, the ones they call themselves obedient. They are not organic followers of the party anywhere in Nigeria. So the Labour Party in Ogun State is very weak. Even if they say they don't have a gubernatorial candidate over there, the support for Dapo, I think, is self-serving. They just want to remain relevant, to see what they can garner from him in terms of pecuniary gains. So even if they had, whether they support him or not support him, it will not change anything in Lagos. Because I live in Lagos, I work as I'm a broadcaster, I'm a political journalist in Lagos. Of course, I understand the workings of the southwest politics. But for me, I think it's self-serving and also disgraceful for you to have a party and then you are not supporting another party there in Ogun State.
Well, we saw that the Labour Party in River State, I think, was suspended. I think, that happened after the elections, seeing how it played out. But let's go to number 4 now, where we're talking insecurity, where unknown gunmen in Zangon Kataf of Kaduna State have killed at least 17 people in an attack that happened around 7 p.m. on Saturday night. Following the attack, of course, the Zangon Kataf Local Government Administration imposed a 24-hour curfew. However, Yabo Ephraim, the media aide to the local government chairman, said the curfew was enforced to enable the army to restore peace and order in the affected areas. Let's get your thoughts on that one also. In the last couple of weeks, while we're building up for the elections, there didn't seem to be a lot of these security challenges or these attacks, but they've come back to back now about 2 or 3 times since the elections ended. What's going on in southern Kaduna?
Well, Kaduna has always been in the news in recent times, but even in the past, but not too distant past, for the wrong reasons. I mean, this same Zangon Kataf has always been in the news for not development. They've always been in the news for not any progress at all. They've always been in the news for everything that is violent. I mean, not perpetrated by they themselves, but aggressors from other places coming to lord it over Zangon Kataf. Yeah, I remember when I was still very small, maybe in primary school that time, or just getting into the early days of secondary school. I remember Zangon Kataf, the pogrom that happened in that community. So it's still ongoing. It just tells you that El-Rufai wants to be seen as I mean, that's my own by my own estimation. El-Rufai wants to be seen as a national hero. He wants to see as a national figure. But right there in his domain, he has not been able to do anything. Because if you look at the politics of El-Rufai in Kaduna State, El-Rufai is somebody who has not been able to weld the state together. Look at the Christian interest, look at the Muslim interest, to want to bring them to subsume everything, all interest on that national interest. He's not able to do that. It seems as if he's an interested party in one of the interests. And when you also look at when he said he went to in search of those people who were disturbing the peace of Kaduna, and he went to pay them off. Remember, but today he didn't tell us who those people were. So when he paid them, possibly when the money he gave them, they've exhausted it, they now came back again to be perpetrating evil. So I think everything, all the blame for me, I can place them at the doorstep of El-Rufai, who has not been able to, rein in all the criminals in the state and allow them to reign freely in that state.
All right, Charles Ideho, thank you very much for your time with us this morning. It was a great pleasure to have you. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.